Welcome to the Pursuit of Manliness podcast, where we are vigorously equipping men to pursue biblical manliness.
Hey, Clint, I said you had Boomhauer, Uncle Si, and then a smart guy from Tennessee, and I don't know.
You let me know when he shows up.
He can't make it tonight, but we're gonna get him tomorrow afternoon. But all right, let's get into this. We're Matthew 4:18-22. I love this part. I feel like this text, you could just chew on it and take it from different angles. But while walking by the Sea of Galilee, he, speaking of Jesus, saw two brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. He said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." I mean, that's the hook of the Christian faith, isn't it? So Jesus calling these guys where they're at. I don't know if you grew up with siblings or not, but I'm just glad the two brothers weren't fighting with each other or arguing over something or getting tangled in whatever. But one of the things I thought of is, wouldn't it be great if we all got called to follow Jesus at 8 years old and we just did it? And we just went to Sunday school and got all the points and went to church camps and the youth camps and just followed Jesus our whole life. But that wasn't my story. I don't know about you guys, but I've told the story about me coming to it was the Calvert Stadium at Keokuk, Iowa. There was like a Y2K gathering, and I went forward by myself, and I thought, all right, God, I got to go all in. But do you remember, for you guys, when you felt Jesus calling you, like you said, that's it, I got to follow him?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I can remember it probably the easiest because it's been the closest. I was driving down the road listening to some random podcast uh, called Pursuit of Manliness because I thought, hey, I might need to, I'm married now. I might need to take Jesus a little more seriously, get a little more involved in church. It's just what you do when you grow up, right? And I was going down the road, and Jarrett, I wish I remember what you said, but it was something that I believe you said for Luke Turpin that said, take this seriously. Like I'm not just talking about the preachers. I'm not just talking about the deacons. Like as Christian men, we're called to do this. We're called to live like this. We're called to do something. And I remember thinking, oh shoot. This isn't just for people that don't think this is real. That's for me. Like I remember the tug in my chest. I can see it clear as day. I felt a tug in my chest forward saying, it's time. Go all in. He's talking to you. The Bible's talking about you. And yeah, I remember, yeah, I can get rambling about this forever, but I remember coming home and telling my wife, like, hey, this is, I'm about this now. And yeah, just I literally felt like the scales have been removed from my eyes, and yeah, one thing led to another, led to another, led to another. I don't know that it was like a Paul on the road to Damascus, like 180 moment right then and there. But I do remember that initial tug that I believe God used you, Jarrett, as a mouthpiece to say, hey, all means all. It's time. Go all in.
I do think God knows who to send. I mean, in my case, I was 27. My mom's cancer had just come back. A couple relationships had gone bad. Wasn't real fulfilled in my job at the time. So I guess I was just at kind of a lower point. And I had a woman who was very evangelical, loved Jesus, that I knew well. And she asked me if I would meet with her pastor friend. And I said, I remember my exact quote was, I'll meet with him out of respect to you, but if he throws the Bible at me, I'm walking away. And so you can see where my posture was. My posture was not good. And I get to Ruby Tuesdays in Midland, Michigan to meet with this guy, and he's got a Russian hockey jersey on, and it threw me off. It wasn't who I expected. And I don't know how it came to be, but he asked me, would you meet with me every week? And I said yes. So he started to get me in the Word and get me going in a certain direction. And maybe 4 or 5 weeks into that, we had the pastor just preached a kind of fire and brimstone sermon, and I know the gospel would have been presented, and there would have been a grace aspect to it, but all I heard was, I'm in trouble. I'm going to hell." And Pastor Dave asked me, "Do you know where you're going when you're done here?" "I have no idea." "Would you like to be certain of that?" "I would." And I just remember giving my life to Christ in that office that day. And I'm not a big crier, not a big guy like that. I just started bursting in tears. And then a year later, I leave to take care of my mom, who was dying of cancer. I know that looking back, God was like, "It's time now, because I need you to do some things in the future, and you've got to get right." And so I uh, feel very confident He called me at that moment. It wasn't something I did, because my posture was kind of against it. But He's like, "Enough's enough. You're gonna follow now." And I'm always thankful that somebody was willing to be obedient, just to reach out to a guy they didn't know from Adam, and share the gospel, and not only that, be willing to disciple them after. Not just to go, "Well, I'll share this gospel with you, and if you say a prayer, I'm going to say kumbaya, good for you, and I leave you to the wolves to figure it out." That's not exact. I was just so blessed to have, Pastor Dave Hotop walk with me for a year and a half. It not only bring me to Christ, but it helped me learn how to follow Him well.
So I'd say for me, I grew up going to church, my whole life, but for the most part, I was there just to kind of hang out with my cousin and my friends. I really didn't pay attention to anything. I remember sitting there. We went to a Church of Christ, and I remember, there was no instruments at that time back then. And every time they sang the song "How Great Thou Art," there was a guy that had a voice like one of the Oak Ridge Boys that was just real deep. And every time he sang, me and my cousin would be like, "Wow," you know. But we would draw, wouldn't pay attention to anything. Um, Eventually, I went into the oil field. I know y'all are probably tired of me talking about that, but I was in the oil field, and my uncle started sending me emails every now and then. We started talking about the Bible. I've been going to church as an adult for a little bit, taking a little bit more serious. Um, and then at some point, I don't know, it's somewhere between like 12 to 15 years ago now, my brother-in-law took his life, and me and my uncle are still talking a whole bunch. Some things happened at the drilling rig, and he asked me one day. I was working night shift, and he asked me one day, about giving my life to Jesus, for real, not playing around. So I was out mixing mud one night in one of the frac tanks. We got to build like 400 barrels of mud, every now and then. And I'm over there by myself, got my earplugs in, nobody's around me for a couple hundred yards. And I was like, this is it. I went down the stairs of that frac tank, knelt down on the ground, and it's like, "Hey, I give up. I'm all about you now." And when I got home after that hitch, I met my uncle, my whole household, my dad, stepmom, my mom, my wife's family, all met me at my uncle's church. He ended up baptizing me, and from then on, I don't think there's a day I haven't woke up not thinking about Jesus.
That's amazing. I mean, that's the story of the gospel, right? Like God meets us exactly where we're at, regular people. We were talking about that before we hit record. We're just four guys who, we have some camaraderie because we have some shared experiences. But Luke, I had no idea about that story. I was never around you till you and your dad showed up to the retreat. And Rob, we grew up in the same town, but we weren't never in the same room for 30, 40 years. I don't know, until you came to Indianapolis one time. And Clint, we're still not sure how you showed up and got around here, but that's
Just got lucky.
when those city buses drop people off around town. You never know who's going to come knocking on a church door. So then Clint rolls in, but he calls regular people, and then he calls you to do extraordinary things, which for us just seem like everyday life, right? I had someone stop me the other day and say, "How long have you been growing your beard?" And I thought, I don't know. It's been a while. That's all I know. Now I thought back on that. I realized I probably just stopped shaving one day. My wife was for it, so that was a great incentivizer. The razor stopped getting used, but I knew pretty early on my face was getting irritated, so I needed a solution. Now, for you guys that are at that place, you know what I'm talking about. It's itchy, it's scraggly, and your wife's trying to figure out where she's at with that. Well, my wife likes the homeless look. So for me, there is no incentive to ever trim anything up. But for some of you guys, I know that's not the case. Let me encourage you to check out today's sponsor, darkwaterkc.com. Doug uses natural ingredients. He's got beard care products that will nourish, soften, and strengthen your beard so you look at your best. Hey, I'm all for looking rough and scraggly and leaving no question that you are a man of God. But you need to clean it up, keep it tight, whatever you need to do. Check out darkwaterkc.com. We got beard oil products. We got soap. He's got beard balm, combs, all kinds of things. Now, here's what I know. Not every scent is available all year long. So if you see it, you better grab it while you can. Check the link in the show notes today. You'll save money on your next order, darkwaterkc.com. So you got these guys who are fishing. This is what they're gifted at. This is what they know. And he says, to come follow me. The thing that's interesting about this is it's sort of a command. Like Jesus doesn't force anyone to follow him, but there is a command, follow him, right? So you look at that and say, well, he's not going to manipulate or force anybody into the kingdom. But at the same token, he's saying, this is a non-negotiable. And I think when you take an honest look at your life here and for eternity, how could you not see Jesus as a non-negotiable? Like, how could you see it like, well, I get just enough of him. I get a sample size of Jesus to make myself feel better. We're all going to come to the end of ourselves and then that's it. That's it. There's no more. So what he tells them basically leave your nets. What does that look like for guys? What does that look like in 2025 to leave your proverbial nets to follow Jesus? I mean, you guys have probably had to leave some things.
Real quick, you think that, somebody, if one of y'all was to give up your life for me or for one of my kids, I'm indebted to you for the rest of my life. I mean, whatever you need, I'll be there for anything. It's the exact same thing, except it's way more important. It's our salvation. But yeah, leaving your nets. I mean, it's leaving anything. I mean, anything that's holding you back from following him. It could be from the smallest thing to something huge, like somebody cheating on their wife or watching porn or doing anything like that, to just being lazy and not getting up in the morning and getting in their Bible and reading and just doing the right thing to be able to follow Jesus.
This had to be a heck of a script flip for the fishermen. As I was kind of studying these verses last night, in their world, if they wanted to be discipled or learn, they had to go seek out a rabbi and try to make a good case why you should disciple me. And here, God is seeking them. Like it's a complete 180. Instead of them seeking, God's coming for them where they are and going, follow me. I'm going to teach you everything. I'm going to disciple. And that had to be really powerful for them. I think it was for me too. I think what I had to leave was I was raised to, like we all are, to provide well, to be strong, to protect your wife, to protect your house, and those are all good things. But you had to sort of relinquish control of that and go, I'm going to go follow you. I don't know what that means for maybe my vocation. I don't know what that means for maybe where I might live, who I might marry, all of those things. Because I was single when I came to Christ. So I'm turning that all over to you and leaving it and trying to follow well. And I think as men, we have a hard time surrendering or giving control to others. And so we want to snatch it back a lot of times. We'll hand you the backpack for 2 minutes, but then we get the backpack back. We want control of it. So it was a realization, I've got to give everything to him and stay out of the way and listen, be discerning, and try to follow him well.
Hey, real quick, I was going to say, for one thing for me that I need to leave behind, I said it in a challenge video in Tribe last week, I think, is, sometimes I can care way too much about what other people think about me. The gospel is way too important for me to worry about what other people think about me. I That doesn't matter. What matters is if they can get the gospel, if they can grasp Jesus and follow him. And if I look like an idiot to them, then that's fine. But it doesn't matter. Most of the time I probably do. But the number one thing is getting them to Jesus and not what I look like.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And what that looks like to me, leaving my net, is that was an ongoing process for me of recognizing, taking, like Jarrett talks about or has talked about, taking inventory of my life, taking inventory of my words, of my what occupies my time, recognizing what doesn't align with scripture and purging it. And that was a process for me because I didn't really realize how strong of a foothold sin had in my life. It was everywhere. It was in every crack that I was finding. And so it was a ongoing process of recognizing, hey, that's sin. Got to get rid of that, leaving that behind. So what it meant for me of leaving my net was literally crucifying that dead man and allowing that new creation to be that new creation. So the net that I left behind after time and after surrendering and after submission after submission after submission was the old man, because the old man is dead. There's nothing, there are very, very, very few friends that are still in my life. There are very few hobbies that I do that stuck around. Everything. My favorite music, my favorite TV shows, my favorite movies, my favorite everything. Not everything, but 90% of me is no longer me. My wife is still getting to know a new man because I am not the man that she married, and that's been its own process. She shouldn't have married the man that she married, but that's been its own process. So the net, and I'm still trying to figure out, what it means to leave my net now and follow him, but in my professional life, but that's what it looked like for me.
I
I think
thought you were going to say you were going to purge your wife at one point, but no.
That's the one good thing I had.
Yes, exactly. Me too. She's definitely the better half, but we're going to be purging, I think, until the day we pass away. We're going to be purging stuff every day, all day.
I think one of the nets that guys struggle leaving is just where's their identity come from? Because that's the thing you're really leaving behind. These guys were fishermen, and while they're going to be fishers of men, they're now followers of Jesus. That is their occupation. That is their identity. Now, Clint, you might have given your life to Jesus while you're in the oil field, and that didn't change. You still were in the oil field the day after, but that became a mission field. That became your job title or your priority slightly changed. Same for me. And so you have to put your identity fully in Jesus. And I think we battle with that. That's an ongoing battle. That isn't a one time, oh, I overcame it, I've surrendered to him. That we battle that on and off throughout.
So I said it was a Y2K, so whatever it was after 2000. But I remember 1999 going to my first Promise Keepers, and I'd never seen anything like it. I was scared to death when I first got there. They had a guy come out and say something like, "Welcome to Promise Keepers 1999. The place erupts." I thought, I have got to get out of this space. And they started a "We love Jesus. Yes, we do. We love Jesus. How about you" chant. And I said, this is the queerest thing I've ever been a part of. I thought, man, if my friends would see me now, I would never hear the end of this thing. And they're singing, they're doing, I'm like, I just don't know, man. And before the weekend was over, I said, I need this. Like, I've never seen guys do this. I've never been a part of it. This gives me some hope. And I remember they had like a bookstore or something. I don't know. I spent 60% of my time probably at the bookstore, just buying everything they had. I had no money. I don't know what I was doing. If I had money, I probably, who knows? But I bought everything. Books, CDs, shirts, whatever. I mean, I bought it all, and I thought I'm going home and I'm purging everything I got. I'm gonna throw it away. I'm gonna backfill it with all this Christian stuff. I mean, I bought Bible studies. I know how to study a Bible. I know how to do any of that. And I had a big trash bag full of like CDs and stuff. Put it at the front. Told my roommates, take whatever you want. I'm throwing it away. Well, as the days turned into weeks, I just kept digging stuff out of there. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. I just thought I would backfill my life with some Christian stuff, and that would solve the problem. That all it did was make it worse. All it did was create this Molotov cocktail of chaos. The key that I finally had to learn, and I'm still learning it, and I'm with you, Goat. I think you do this for the rest of your life, is surrender. You must fully surrender. You die to yourself. I can't slightly modify my behavior. Well, man, it's hard to believe this is our 5th annual. I say annual because we're doing it every year. Men's retreat. It's October 3rd and 4th in Indianapolis, hosted by Castleton Christian Church. That's where we're camping out. There's a ton of hotels in the area if you want to stay. We feed you, we worship with you, the whole deal, but we don't house you. So make sure you sign up by Sunday, September 14th. I'm telling you, man, it has proven to be one of the most impactful weekends of the year. We got guys in Tribe. We got guys from the local church. We got guys from the Indianapolis area, but we got guys that have come from all over. We had a guy ride his motorcycle, 5,000 miles one year? I don't know if I recommend that. We've had people outside the U.S. come, but nevertheless, man, just get here. You bring your son, bring someone from the church, bring just yourself. I promise when you leave, if it's just you, you will not leave feeling like it was just you. You will meet some really sound and solid men. And it's just a great weekend. So visit thepursuitofmanliness.com/gear. There you'll find more information about the retreat. Luke, my wife, has said the same thing. I married one guy. I got somebody different. And that's a positive, thank goodness, because not everybody gets that positive. But I think it is full on surrender. And I think one of the most difficult things for the American Christian man to surrender is his time on Sunday. Whether it's commitment to attending a church, whether it's serving at that church, whether it's being a part of I think we like the Christian idea. We like the idea of being saved. I'm not even against the book itself, and I'll text a buddy a verse or two. But you're telling me on my weekends, when I've worked all week, that I'm supposed to be there, and if I'm not there, I'm supposed to feel guilty about it. I think the American Christian male, that's the one string of a net he's still holding on to. He says, no, 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 no. I can have church in a boat. I can have church in a deer stand. I can have church going down. Not if you understand what the church is. No, you can have a connection with God, sure, to a degree, but the church being the bride of Christ. So I'm getting on a tangent here, but I think it's the surrender. These men left Peter Incorporated to go follow Jesus. Like that. It's one thing that we said, hey, we came to Christ later on in life. It's another thing to come home and say, oh, by the way, honey, I quit my job because I'm going to permanently follow Jesus. Now that's a whole different conversation. And I think that's something in America, we don't quite understand the severing of old self, new self. I think we try to drag the old self behind.
One of the toughest conversations, well, I won't say toughest, it was meaningful. My bride said to me a handful of years ago, and she came to me in love and said, every day I've known you, you've been fighting, like just battling and grinding. And really what she meant was I was battling God. I was wrestling him, fighting him, trying to hold on to control of things, trying to keep this and not necessarily blatantly sinful things, but just not surrendering. I think that word, that concept is the most difficult for men. I think, and American men probably even more so. Like you said, we want Christianity to fit what we're already doing instead of stop what we're doing and become and follow Jesus and let everything else matriculate out of that. But it's like, well, I got travel soccer this week, so church really doesn't work. Instead of going, church is non-negotiable. I'm going to have my family there, and I'm going to be there worshiping the Lord, and everything else will have to. That's the rock that goes in first, and then we find out what other rocks we can put in. But too many times it's like, well, we'll try to fit Christianity into our bowl if it doesn't fit, we leave it alone. We walk out of it. We don't do it.
No, I think it's hard for us because, I think we're born to be leaders. We're supposed to be the leaders of our home. We're supposed to be leaders at our workplace and stuff. And then you want us to surrender. Like, I thought we were supposed to be leaders, but we're supposed to surrender to Jesus. And that can be tough. I think, like you were saying earlier, we got to wake up every day and surrender. The Sunday stuff, it makes it a lot easier, especially when you're a new Christian, when your football team is not a very good team. And it's easy to go to church and to volunteer and to do all that stuff. And then it just it becomes a habit after that. And then might be doing it because you didn't want to watch a team lose all the time. Now you're doing it just out of habit, and now you like it. You enjoy it because you get something out of it, but you're also serving people. So you're a leader. You had to surrender, and now you're serving. That's what Jesus was doing the whole time, and that's why we need to follow him so we can teach other people how to be doing that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not one of those that like harps on like, oh, it's the culture, it's the culture. But I do think us in America, I think one of the chief issues really for men, or for anyone really, is a culture of casual Christianity. And it's a culture of, like you said, Jared, behavior modification. And like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get too radical about it. Like, I'm not going to it's this widespread approach of like, yes, I'll be a Christian if it costs me absolutely nothing. Because if it costs me something, then hey, that's not me being me, right? I'm supposed to live I'm supposed to live my life, my best life. I'm supposed to do what makes me happy. As a man, I was like, that was my biggest issue was I don't want anyone telling me what to do ever. I'll do the opposite. If someone tells me what to do, I will do the opposite just to show you I don't have to listen to you. And so that submission and that surrender is such an anti-flesh thing. It's so anti-human nature. So I think one of the biggest issues is, yes, having someone within a local church body transition from strictly consuming to serving the bride. I think that is a big jump. But I think more so than that is having someone with a casual approach to, the one that created this whole thing and breathed life out of nothing. Oh yeah, and he killed his son, who was also him, and rose him from the dead. To have a casual approach to that is, you can't really expect anything other than a non-radical transformation when that is what you come to the faith thinking that's all it is.
Thank you again for tuning into the Pursuit of Manliness podcast. Please like, comment, and share the show. Also, if you would leave an iTunes review, that would be greatly appreciated. And remember, keep pursuing biblical manliness.